voting is so often seen, supporting candidates is so often seen as an individual race. What can a group of 200 people who made these choices, what can they put behind it?
Right, I think it's really important to understand that we have fluctuation in the vote, but by my most recent count, we had 900 people who had pre-registered. Of those 900, 500 or so people showed up, and then we had 150 or so who did not previously register who showed up. So we know that there were 650 folks in the building. So while people may have not voted or cast their choices, we know that we have a bigger base than what people have reported, and we want to do everything we can to mobilize everybody who was in the building and the people who we haven't touched yet.
But 200 people deciding to back a candidate is a pretty substantial.
Right, and in the original People's Convention, the mayoral race was decided by less than 200 people. And so what we know is of the several hundred people who have showed up and that we will touch between now and October, we are sure that we can make a difference in each of the respective races.
So, Siju, it's not just about, like you said a minute ago, it's not just about getting people out to vote. It's about mobilizing people to really organize and get other people out to vote, right?
Right. So what we want to focus is the difference between what we call organizing and mobilizing. Mobilizing is taking a group of people who are already engaged and getting them to do a thing. Our work is going to be how do we build this base for the agenda first, and for candidates who won because they align to that agenda second. And so that work is really just a hard work of getting out and having difficult conversations with people. People are disengaged and disenchanted because they don't feel supported by this political process. But what we want to show people is that there is power in our numbers. And so we want to pull people along by the issues that we feel they will identify within the agenda. We want to link people's candidates to those issues. And from there, with that wider base, we want to move that base forward through mobilization to the polls and beyond.
And, you know, there are some people that a knee-jerk, you look at something like this coming together, the knee-jerk reaction like, okay, this is a black event. I saw the people here. This was not just a black event. It was a very diverse event from all different age groups, races.
Right. The truth is that I think that this is probably as diverse as any event that we have in Memphis, Tennessee, but still reflective of the actual demographics. So there were people who were black or African American. There were people who were Caucasian or white. There were people who were of Hispanic or Latinx descent. I saw people who we know that openly identify as gay, straight, trans. There are people of different faiths. We saw people come out from the Nation of Islam, Christians, people who identify as not religious. I think that this is, we had business owners and people who said, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. We had folk who fit into the category of either the working poor or the unemployed, right? So I think that we actually saw a great representation of what Memphis looks like, but I also hope that what we heard was what it can look like in the future, and that what we saw was some excitement bustling towards how we get to that future. And I think that this was a great step in that direction.
So how do you, by what scorecard, what's your scorecard for how successful or not successful this was? And then how do you know that you met it?
Right, so there were three things that we really wanted to do. The first thing is that we wanted to make sure that we presented a democratically aspired agenda, right? And so what we saw was that people were behind this agenda. People in the audience, people in the crowd, the candidates, for the most part, supported the agenda. And so I think that was the big piece. The second piece is that we needed to have a vote. We needed to see who the consensus candidates were. And I think we had a voting process that was at least as good as what we've seen from the Shelby County Commission, right? So I feel that was a success. The most controversial part of our success is probably talking about the numbers, right? I made the number a goal 2,500. I'm a ambitious and audacious person, and I feel like in the future we will be able to have 2,500 people standing under the tent. But we had about 650 in this space. We had 900 people who pre-registered, 500 of them showed up. We had an additional 150 or so who had not previously registered who showed up and registered. So at the rough estimate, that's about 650, right? Wow. And we know that because we know there were 400 or 500 chairs in the main area and they were full. So here's what I would say. With 2,200 people who did a survey, 650 folk in the room, how many people we will be able to touch between now and October? We will have more than reached the couple of thousand folks that we really would like to see engaged in this process.
I appreciate you talking to me.